Welcome to BlueNet's continuing webinar series on Office 365. Today's presentation is on the Office 365 Administrative Portal for busy managers. My name is Craig Yellick. I'm VP of Business Solutions here at BlueNet Inc. And let's get going. Please note that there's a Q&A window in your viewer application, and feel free to post any questions or concerns that you have while the presentation is going. We're going to vacuum them up and address them at the end of the presentation. All right, today's session is on the broad adoption category. BlueNet offers solutions and consulting across all three different categories. And today, this is about broad adoption, where you've got Office 365 up and running, you're relying on it, and you want to keep it going and reduce the cost of these solutions. BlueNet also delivers on all three types of solutions here, and today's session is focusing on out-of-box capabilities. You don't have to have anything special. These are all built into the product. You don't have to write any code. You don't have to do anything to take advantage of all the topics that we're going to talk about today. So let me describe the context that we're expecting you to be in here. The idea is that you're responsible for a team of people in your organization, and you rely on Office 365. You need Office 365 features and functionality to get your work done. You're depending on this product. You do have IT support, so I'm not saying that you're completely self-service, self-supported across the board, but you don't necessarily always want to create a ticket or engage with IT support for what you are hoping are minor issues. So, and then further, when you do engage with your IT department, you're going to be more efficient and effective because you can narrow down the nature of the problem you're having, or articulate the requests that you need if you need additional services or additional support. All right, so we're going to discuss the following topics today, and the idea is maybe once per week, you're going to invest all of 10 minutes to rapidly go through some things and check up on the health and security of your environment. So we're going to start with the home page of the admin portal. This is where there are recommendations and information cards that you can configure to sort of create a custom dashboard, so to speak, for your operations. Then we're going to go and talk about licenses, because everything is driven by which licenses are associated with which users. So I'll show you a really quick way to get a handle on what you're utilizing and where some problems might lie. Next, it's identifying your users, setting different filters to zero in on different groups of users to kind of check on the health and well-being of that, as well as the ability to export those lists out so that you can bring them to meetings or discussions or planning or what have you. And then there's a really terrific reporting system. There's so much information available in the admin portal about who's using what products, how often, what are the trends. This is very important, especially if you're deploying something new, like maybe you're rolling out Teams for the first time, and you want to make sure that people are actually using Teams. You want to get a sense for what's going on. There's some terrific reporting available to you. And then when things are going wrong, it's nice to be able to sort of narrow down the problem. Is it unique to a single user? Is your entire organization affected? Or is this a Microsoft level problem where Exchange Online is down for everybody in North America? You don't need to contact IT about that. You got to wait for Microsoft to figure out that problem. So I'll show you how you can quickly zero in on where that sort of thing might be going on. And then once you get sort of a handle on what's going on, there's also a security and compliance center you can go to discover where you might be falling down a little bit on security. And again, this is not to mean that you solve these problems, but you can be an advocate for better security in your organization by being aware of some of the challenges that you may be facing. And then finally, when all else fails, I'll show you how you can quickly get free support from Microsoft. Every Office 365 subscription comes with free technical support from Microsoft, and I'll show you how to open a ticket with them. So for starters, we're going to go to the home page of the admin portal and take a look at the recommendations. Now, the first time that you come to the portal, you're almost certainly going to see at least one recommendation up here. This is based on your role in the organization and what you've been doing, what products have been activated, what your users are up to. So these recommendations are simply Microsoft saying, hey, I think you should take a look at this. And so it's recommending that we get some more protection going on. So I could view that recommendation and investigate, or I can go and view all of the recommendations because there might be half a dozen, and this is just the top one, or I can dismiss it entirely if I'm satisfied that I've taken care of it or I've looked at it and I don't want to see it any longer. So I'll just dismiss that. Next up, we have cards. Cards are sort of your personal dashboard for possibly important things going on in your organization. And so these are a drag drop interface, so you can move these things around, reorganize them. You can click the add card button and see other cards that aren't up there yet. So maybe you're responsible for approving billing or something like that. You want to kind of see what kind of spend is going on in your organization. You could do that. Each of these cards has its own purpose. So I can see here that I've got some services being disrupted. We'll talk about how to drill into that a little bit later on in the presentation. We've got quite a few licenses that are not in use right now. So this might be indicating that I've got some laggard users who were paying for licenses, but they haven't installed the software. And so perhaps I have too many licenses and I should, cut back. So these cards are really great for that purpose. All right, so next up is licenses. Licenses is a quick way to get an overview of what's going on, who's assigned to what. And as you can see from the screenshot here, I've got a couple of audio conferencing licenses available. Does that indicate that I've purchased too many, or does it indicate that at least 3 people who are supposed to be assigned these things don't have them at all? We see some red lines there. Power BI for Office, we've got a problem here. And I may have users right now saying, hey, what happened to my Power BI dashboard? I had access to it last week. I went in today and it said I can't go there. I have a problem with my Power BI licensing here, and maybe it's time to engage IT about that. If IT doesn't have any clue what's going on there, maybe I got to open a support ticket with Microsoft to try to figure out what's going on there with those licenses. So let me get back into the admin portal here, and you'll see that there's a whole lot of menu choices here, and sometimes the location is a little odd. So this is under billing, licenses, and then I can go there and see what's going on. Can be a bit overwhelming, honestly. There's a lot of licenses floating around, and sometimes you'll see things that you have no idea what these things even are. Here I have almost 1 million Forms Pro trial licenses. I've got one assigned out of 1 million. What the heck, right? If it doesn't make any sense, it probably is a free thing that you don't have to worry about. All right, next up, we have the usage reporting. And this is particularly important as you've got that broad adoption going on. You want to see trends indicating that people are actually using the licenses that you've purchased for them. And so I'm going to go to reporting, reports usage. I'll set the time frame here to be 180 days. So I see a nice long trend line here. And I'm not interested in Yammer, and I can turn that off. I can turn Skype for Business off, SharePoint, OneDrive, and maybe Office 365 in general. I'm interested in seeing my Exchange usage and Teams usage over the last 180 days. And I see here that there's a disturbing trend that seems every weekend the staff is not using Teams or Exchange. That's interesting. I guess we have a good work-life balance here at BlueNet. Also, I'm seeing that the email usage has kind of leveled off. It's not on an increasing trend, but boy, Teams is sorry, it's the other way around. Email seemed to be down pretty low here, and Teams usage is pretty good. But all of a sudden, we had a big spike in October and November here in email. I might have to see, what's going on. So those are the big trend lines. We've also got individual cards for all of the different licensing going on. And so if I want to see what's going on with that email activity, let's see in the last 30 days what's been going on. And TK here is sending an awful lot of email, and he's also receiving a lot. So this might indicate as a manager that I need to ask him what's up with email, and is there something that we can do to help. So let's start descending here. And man, Adam receives a whole lot of email. I think he's subscribed to like 500,000 different newsletters and so on. So I suspect that that's an anomaly there. But as you can see, a wealth of information available here in this usage information. It's something that a manager can get a lot of insights into what's going on. And you might realize that a particular individual is buried in receipts of emails, and that's why they're having a problem here. Zach apparently gets an awful lot of, sends an awful lot of email, and maybe I need to counsel him on alternate forms of communication because he's spending an awful lot of time composing email. The fact that he receives a ton, maybe that's the reason why he's sending so much. Again, these are all things that help you focus on what you should be discussing with your staff rather than asking them what's going on. You can kind of get a sense for what's going on there. All right, service health. If your users are complaining of a problem, I mentioned earlier, maybe Power BI, people are saying, hey, it's not coming up, or it's super slow, or I haven't got any email all day today, or I sent email and the people I'm sending them to are claiming they never received them. There's a number of things that could be going wrong with any one of these scenarios. And as a manager type person, you're not really in a position to do deep diagnostics and things, but it's still nice to get a general sense of what's going on. So there's a service health area that gives you a quick overview of what's up and what's down and how long Microsoft thinks it might take to get it back again. So let's go to the health drop down here, your service health. And we have a Office 365 portal and SharePoint Online of all of the different licenses that I've got here. There's something going on, and this is interesting. This just happened because I was here. I can't run client-side object model in applications. Okay, I'm guessing that this one's probably not going to impact my users all that much because I know that we don't do any of this sort of thing. We don't rely on this. Other organizations, this could be a catastrophe where the fact that this is degraded could indicate a problem. And so until this is cleared, it's probably not something that we're going to be able to deal with. We're just going to kind of monitor this situation and see what happens. All right, the Service Message Center is an area that it's not really about outages in health. It's more like advanced warning that Microsoft is planning on changing something. And count on it, Office 365 has changed continually through its life, and it will change forever. Microsoft's pace of change is increasing, and it's almost impossible to stay on top of this stuff. Our solution developers are in these products every day, all day, and they're surprised. Even though they have their finger on the pulse, they read the blogs, they go through the training, they're constantly researching this stuff, they still get surprised by changes that we didn't know were happening. So under the service health area, it's called the Message Center. And we'll see here that you can just kind of scroll through here and say, do I think that this is going to impact me? So new feature, SharePoint home sites. If this is something that you're, you've got a dependency on SharePoint and you're curious what might be going on, maybe that's one you want to read. You'll see the categories here are, stay informed, prevent or fix issues, plan for change. These are the ones that you really got to stay on top of because they're hinting pretty broadly here, we're going to change this. And so if you do not use, for example, Microsoft To Do, then you don't really need to worry about this. But if you and your team are all over the To Do product, that's sort of a task manager, personal task manager, if this is something that you're leveraging in a big way, that's probably one that you should be reading about. And it just came out a couple of days ago, so this is possibly something you're going to have to stay on top of. All right, security and compliance. At the start of the presentation, I mentioned that this is not something that you personally probably are going to be managing unless you are it for your organization. If you manage your Office 365 subscription for your organization, then yes, this is something you have to be all over all of the time. But if you're just part of it, the organization, as I said, you should be an advocate for improving security. You're probably aware that phishing attacks, for example, are rampant. The malware and ransomware is rampant. Just reading that a whole city got taken down by a malware infestation. Hospital lost all of their records because of a ransomware gone wrong. So this is something that you shouldn't just be relying on your IT folks to stay on top of this stuff. They're busy people, they got lots going on. You can be an advocate for security in your organization. So this is done in an area called an admin center. And it's right here, security and compliance. I'll go there. And it opens up a new tab. All right, and so you can see there's a lot of different stuff going on here. And similar to the other area, they don't call these cards, they're called widgets in this particular area. If you don't need something here, you can just turn it off. So for example, maybe I don't need, the information governance thing, I can go and get rid of that and use this space for something else. The main one I want to talk about here is the thing called a secure score. This is Microsoft's attempt to assign a number to your security. And you can see that, we do some ups and downs here, and we're only at 180 of a possible 802 points here. And we're, middling on all this stuff. So Microsoft is basically saying you can increase your security pretty dramatically here. And we got some trend lines going over time. And this peaked right here because we were experimenting with the multi-factor authentication, and that clearly jumped our score way up when we enabled that. So obviously we've got to get back to that and make sure that we do that. So your score can be drilled into deeper here, and you can learn about where you can score some points. In all of the different areas. So if I want to have better identity, I can zero in on that as a goal, basically, to try to get that score up. So again, something to review, and you might realize that some of this stuff is way beyond your skill set, not something you even understand, whereas you may take a look at something here where the user impact is low, the implementation cost is low, and you see that you would get a big score improvement by turning that on. So this is something that you may want to agitate the next time there's a IT or planning meeting or something like that, to say, hey, I've got some options here I think we should discuss. All right, and lastly, at some point, you can't figure something out. And so Perhaps one of your users has lost a Word document and it's damaged or something, and you're suspecting there's a way to recover it, but nobody on the team, knows how to do it. You've searched through all the file systems and so on. You just can't get it. So we can go to the oh, come on. There we go. Oh, this is security and compliance I need. Got too many tabs open. All right, so here under support, we have new service request. And you type in your just describe what it is you're attempting to do. And there'll be some possible articles and things of interest. And then there's this contact support option. Click that, and that starts a process of opening up a ticket. You're going to get a technician assigned to you. And usually, it's not, the service level here is not instantaneous. You can purchase more advanced support, but within usually a day or so, this is going to get resolved. So it's not like a super high level support queue. It's just the free part that's built into the product, and you can, you should be taking advantage of that if you just can't figure out how to do it any other way. All right, so that is our 10 minutes a week to improve your use of the product and support your users a little better. All right, so question is, I can't get to the admin portal. That's because you probably don't have the right permissions. Not every user gets to do this. And so you can't give yourself this permission. So you're gonna have to find out who in your organization is responsible for permissions management, and they'll have to add you to a role that gives you the ability to look at this stuff. This topic is actually pretty vast, and fortunately, security in Office 365 is extremely granular, and you have a lot of options about what level of access to what areas a user might have. And so it's important to realize that, and again, if somebody says, no, I refuse to give you permissions to the admin portal, you can kind of gently inform them that I can be assigned to a viewer-reader role that doesn't give me the ability to change anything, but I can still see service health. I can still see the service messages. I can still see reporting of usage. All right, so I'm not changing anything. I'm not buying licenses. I'm not altering the state of anything. I just need to be able to review and stay on top of this stuff. And that is something that I think is completely reasonable for a manager in an organization to be granted that level of permissions. All right, I guess that'll do it. Thank you very much for attending. We'll be doing another one of these next month. And so visit the BlueNet website under events to stay on top of the topics that are coming up. And thank you very much and have a great day.